Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let's be crystal clear on something. The House of Representatives never held up CHIP. It actually passed it in October. We're still waiting for Democrats in the Senate to work with Republicans in the Senate and send us something back. In the meantime, in this bill, my friends say they want to reauthorize CHIPS. We reauthorize it for 6 years. There's nothing in it they object to. They believe in the program. I believe in the program. It's had bipartisan support. When we passed it, it got almost every Republican vote, a couple of dozen Democratic votes. We've actually made the bill better in the process. So if you want to fix CHIP, you just simply need to vote for this bill. And my friends, frankly, we wouldn't be racing members back here or the President of the United States and if my friends weren't threatening to block vote against funding the government while negotiations are underway. What advantage do you have in shutting down the government of the United States, which is precisely what my friends are threatening to do? I think they'll not succeed here, but actually have the ability to do in the United States Senate, should they choose to do it under the rules of that body. While negotiations are going on, if you think shutting down the government's a good idea, I beg to differ. If you're using it as a negotiating tactic, then you ought to be ashamed, because that's no way to treat the American people. We're operating in good faith. There's not an item in this bill that offends any Democrat. Nobody I know is against CHIP. We just heard that. Nobody I know is against delaying the Cadillac tax or the medical device tax and Obamacare, two parts of that bill that even my friends who supported it tend to disagree with. I know my friends are not opposed to providing ballistic missile defense for the United States of America. No, my friends surely don't want to handicap the American military at a dangerous time by a government shutdown. So there's nothing in here that could possibly be offensive to them. And there are negotiations underway on the very items they're most concerned about: immigration and an appropriate balance in funding level. Shutting down the government while those negotiations are underway isn't going to help us get DACA reform, isn't going to help us actually get a budget that we can operate on. It will actually just simply switch attention away from those and create a crisis, which I assume my friends think will work somehow to their political benefit. I don't think that's true, and I speak from some experience here. I argued against it, but I watched my own side do something like this when it came to defunding Obamacare. It was not successful. It was not the appropriate way to proceed, and there was a pretty harsh verdict by the American people. I suggest my friends are running the same risk today. Now, they have every right to do this. I never question any member's right to vote how they think is appropriate. But in this case, in this body, I think we have the votes to make sure that they don't shut down the government as they've threatened to do. In the United States Senate, that's going to be up to them. Frankly, if Democratic senators want to shut down the government to achieve some policy objective, that's their choice. But I think it will be crystal clear at the end of the day who actually closed down the government for some unrelated policy aim that was actually under negotiation at the time. So I would again just urge my friends to benefit from our experience and sit down and keep negotiating while we keep the government open. I think if we do that, we'll arrive at constructive solutions for the American people. I think if we don't, it's going to be a political crisis that was unprovoked and unnecessary. With that, Mr. Speaker, I would